Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our first ever Annual Pastoral Appeal webinar. You guys were early this morning. We tried to get ahead of you and you snuck in. So if you heard us testing, I'm sorry, but we are really glad you're here. My name is Jeanne Smith, and I am your Associate Director of Stewardship and Development. With me today is Meegan Wright, Executive Director of Stewardship and Development, and Meegan and I would like to take this opportunity to introduce you to Michelle Mesiano, our Administrative Assistant. We are glad you are with us, and for you, we hope to make it a positive and productive experience. Michelle has been instrumental in navigating us through this webinar process and will be speaking to you on some of the pre-webinar housekeeping to be sure everyone is on the same page. Take it away, Michelle.
All right, good morning. I hope everyone was able to view the Zoom meeting housekeeping handout or watch the video sent to you through Constant Contact. Please make sure you are not in full screen mode so you are able to interact with us. I'm going to go over a couple housekeeping slides before Meegan and Jeanne start. If you have participated in a Zoom meeting before, this may look and sound familiar, but for those of you who are not familiar, this is the control panel. On the bottom left of your screen, you'll see the audio functions in green. You are muted upon entry, and we are not using any webcams for this meeting. Please know that this meeting is being recorded. Before you joined the meeting, you were asked to connect to audio, so I hope everyone can hear me. Next are the functions you will be using throughout the meeting. The participants and chat controls are the only functions you will use from that middle yellow section. When the meeting is over, the bottom right of this panel is how you will leave the meeting. If at any time the control panel disappears from your screen, hover over the bottom and it will reappear. Now that we've gone over the control panel, let's focus on the two functions that you'll actually be using. The participants function is highlighted in red. When open, you will see some fun ways to interact with us. I'd like to do a test right now, so if you have not already done so, can everyone please click on the participants button? And I'd like everyone to find the little blue hand on the left that reads raise hand and click on it. All right, I see some. If you can't find it on your panel, it should be under the three dots that says more. All right. Still waiting on a few. If you are on the phone, that might be why some of them aren't coming up. All right. So now if you can locate the chat button and open up the group chat, this is where you have an opportunity to chat with everyone publicly, or you can send a private message to the host and the co-hosts. If you see on the chat function, it says everyone, and next to that is a little drop-down blue arrow, and that is where you can find who to chat with privately. Please know we'll do our best to answer all questions as we go through. I will be saving the chat at the end of the meeting, so please make sure that you have renamed yourself if you have not already done so. And we will get back to any unanswered questions at the end. If there are any technical issues you have before we get started, please message the host for help. Okay. And I'm going to hand it over to Jeanne, and she will be administering our first poll.
Okay. Did you think that you were going to be put on the spot this early in the morning? Well, you know me, so you are. You have a few minutes to answer this question, these questions, and after a short period of time, we'll show the results. So the poll's in front of you. Can you hear us? Can you see the control functions? And do you see the Be Courageous slide? Okay, it looks like some people are answering this poll in chat, but we want you to answer it on a poll. Michelle, do you want to?
Yes, it should be multiple choice, yes or no. So you should just have to click the button. The poll is in the middle of your screen. We have about 19 people that have answered. So if you have not already done so, please hit yes or no to the 3 questions that Jeannie has asked you.
How many chats? Okay, thank you for participating in the first of 3 polls. Now, as you can see, we have the results. Okay, so everybody's good. There is one no. We'll see if we can.
The one person that answered no, if you could please message the host privately and we will be able to help you out.
Okay, great. Okay, so now as in all good meetings, let's begin this one with a prayer. Please read out loud with me. Almighty, ever-living God, by our sorry about that, lost my headset. Almighty, ever-living God, by our baptism we have been called to live as missionary disciples of your Son, Jesus Christ. Grant that we, your people of the Diocese of St. Petersburg, will fulfill our purpose by proclaiming the good news and inviting all people to experience the love and mercy of Jesus Christ. Deepen our trust in you, O Lord, and help us remain steadfast in our commitment to courageously living the gospel in our homes, neighborhoods, parish communities, and wherever you may lead us. Together, with the intercession of our Blessed Mother and all the saints who have gone before us, we humbly ask for the courage to live as your disciples, standing firm in our Catholic faith, through your Son, our Lord, Jesus Christ. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, well, we thought the poll was the hard question, but not so much. I'm so glad again that we are together. I miss seeing you, but virtually we're going to try to get through this. So this slide here is a familiar sight to many, an old question for some, but for those with a new or fresh start working with the Annual Pastoral Appeal, it truly is something to review for sure. I'd like to highlight a few things on this message. I'd like to mention the difference between the assessment and the Annual Pastoral Appeal. The assessment is an annual bill received by each parish and mission as part of a financial responsibility of our diocesan church. The Annual Pastoral Appeal is a fundraising resource used to share details of how the local church works to fulfill God's call to discipleship by sharing the gospel message in word and deed, serving each other with mercy and love. That's the important part of what the Annual Pastoral Appeal is and keeping it separate from what the assessment is. Does anyone at this point have any questions? Okay, so at this point, we're going to stay on track, and measuring our potential is always important. To do that today for us is Meegan Wright. Meegan, please share with us how we are doing by the numbers.
Thanks, Jeannie. Good morning, everyone. As we get started, please remember to send in your questions through the chat function that we went over at the beginning of the session. And in between each segment, we are going to pause. So as I move through, if Michelle gives me a signal, I will take a break and I will see if I can answer what I need to. If not, we're going to answer them before we move forward and past the reporting. And please note, if we do not get to your question, we are recording them so I can get an answer directly to you after the webinar. During my portion of the presentation, I'll be pulling and looking at numbers that are on two reports that were sent out to all registered participants, the 3-year up-down comparison and the 3-year comparison by parish. Now, for those of you who registered this morning, after we sent these handouts out, we will get you the handouts after the event since you were not able to download them ahead of time. Okay? So, and looking at our 2019 numbers, just the plain stats as they were as of July 16th, which is when we started pulling all the data together for this meeting. Of course, our overall goal is 11,850,000. Our pledge to date is just over 8 million. Our number of donors, 22,481. We're sitting at 19% participation, and our average gift is $360. Okay. When we take a look at who's over goal, where the next group of parishes are, and then those falling below at 50%. We have 5 parishes over goal right now. And those 5 parishes are All Saints, Blessed Sacrament Tampa, Resurrection in Riverview, St. Brendan, and St. Luke the Evangelist in Palm Harbor. So 3 of these parishes are new to the Over the Goal at Mid-Year Achievement, and that is exciting for them. So great work, All Saints, Blessed Sacrament Tampa, and Resurrection. And of course, for St. Brendan and St. Luke and all of those over goal, thank you for your hard work and getting where you are. This is quite an achievement. You definitely deserve a thumbs up. So we also have 21 parishes that are very close. They're at 80% or higher. And we have 20 parishes that are sitting below 50% of goal. So it's really difficult to see how these numbers stack up unless we literally stack them up next to the previous year's numbers. So let's take a look at the 3-year up and down to show how this really looks when compared. So comparatively, what we have is somewhat of a mixed bag. We have less parishes over goal, about half the number. Last year we had 10, and we have 6 more that are sitting at that 80 to 99.9% level. We have 2 less parishes sitting below the 50% mark. So it's a little difficult to tell from this particular stat, are those 6 extra parishes in the 80 to 99.9 some of our parishes that were up above goal in the previous year? We have to go back to, of course, the detail comparison by parish to really take a look at those numbers. But in looking at the 21 parishes in that range, that's a really incredible place to be at this point, and there's some amazing potential there. I see we have a question, and it is from Father George. At this point in the year, what additional money does the diocese expect? All right, that's a good question to ask. What we see from this point forward is that through our live bunt, side bunt effort and through the individual efforts at parishes, we see almost 2 million that comes in between now and the end of the year. That's a big chunk that can be attained within a relatively short period of time. So we were over 10 million last year in collections, and we would expect that we can see that amount come through again if we all work together. So, and looking at our up down in a little bit more detail, you know, we know we have 22,481 pledges, and that number is actually down by almost 3,000. Our total pledge dollars are down by almost 600,000. you know, with those trends, of course, what you see is the average gift is up when compared to last year, when you're looking at that 3-year comparative. I know we get questions regularly about the amount that we're down. Are we concerned? And while I will openly say being down by 600,000 after all of us fought very, very strongly to take us up above the $10 million mark by the end of the year, it's hard to see that we're falling behind a little bit. But after our regional meetings, I know Jeannie and I found some of our friends in the region who are actually seeing losses in the range of 3 to 5 million. They're seeing losses of number of donors in the multiple thousands, up in the 5-digit thousands. So we've got some work to do, and I can say being behind at this point doesn't mean we can't come back strong on the last half of the year. And I think that's where we have to focus, and that's where we're going to try to inspire you today to help push ahead. So when we continue to take a look at this, an interesting stat we always like to focus on is the number of new households who have made a gift. So there are 3,283 new households coming on board out of that total 22,400. And that is less by about 2,000 than we saw last year. We know that our average gift from this new donor group is also down. Their average gift last year was 223, and this year it's 186. And this trend, this downward trend, actually takes us back to about our 2017 levels. So we have less new donors, and moving forward, you know, this is a group that we know it's hard to get them on board, and it's really, they really come on board through the efforts of our parishes, what they're hearing in the parish itself. I think that we have a question. Michelle's flagging me down.
Okay, Jim Graventes, he asked, your figures / comparisons are pledged, not actual, correct?
That is correct. These are pledges and not actuals collected. So if you take a look at the 3-year comparison by parish, it does go into detail by parish on the amounts paid. So you can see comparatively whether it's this year, 2018 or 2017, what the pledge versus the actual was. Okay. So in moving ahead on that up-down statistics report, we also like to take a look at the section of the report which says increase and decrease. So if you look at those sections, you'll see the 3-year comparative. What we are finding this year is that almost 7,000 families increased their total pledged dollars. That means they gave more this year than last year. That is almost 1,700 more families than last year. That's a great positive. That means our historical donors are giving more. But on the flip side, their amount of increase is lower overall. In 2017, we saw increases, those who increased their gift increased it to the tune of over $1 million. We're down to about 750,000 in 2018, and now in 2019 to 700,000. We did see about 6,000 families decrease their total pledge. And unfortunately, that's also more families this year who decreased their commitment than the number of families who decreased their commitment last year. And unfortunately, when we look at the total pledge amount that they decreased it, the overall is higher. So we had more families decrease, and they decreased at a higher level. So the amount they gave it's decreasing exponentially. Unfortunately, this is not a good trend to see happening, but we have to take a look and ask ourselves, where is our silver lining? As usual, it's in our potential. And if you swing down to the bottom, we have to take a look at who of our historical donors have not given yet. As we showed before, we have more people who increased their total pledged dollars from that historical group than ever before. The question is, you know, we have about 10,000 folks who gave 3 million in 2018 who haven't yet committed. We have 5,600 who gave in 2017 and 2018, but not yet in 2019. That's 2.4 million. You know, we were talking about, you know, where we were now compared to where we end up at the end of the year. Those are usually the dollars that come in during this time frame, and we don't want to lose those historical donors, because if our average new donor is giving 186 and the average 2-year historical donors average is 428, it's a lot less work to gain those 5,600 donors back than it is to fight for an additional 10,000 new donors, 11,000 new donors to make up that difference. So we really want to focus in on how we bring those historical donors back. And we have to ask, what are we doing as we head toward the fall? When you look at the 3-year comparison by the parish, you ask yourself, how is your parish trending? Are you trending up or down? Then take a moment and really evaluate what efforts on the parish level went into the appeal so far. And then give us a call. Let's talk about what you see happening there, because there are many reasons that a parish could be trending up. And if you have done something new, if you have started something that works really well, we'd really like to share it with the other parishes who may be having a harder time. There's also many reasons why parishes could be trending down, and we can help with that. We know that there are some things beyond our control, but there are things that are within our control. And if we haven't used all the tools in our toolbox, we're not doing our job. So at this time, what I want to do is take a few moments, answer some questions. And Michelle has let me know that there is a question out there. Hey, Joanne, how you doing over at St. John Vianney? She says, what are the numbers in light blue in the potential section? Those light blue numbers are last year's figures. So when you look at the potential section gave in 2018, not yet in 2019, the number on top would be compared to last year. They gave in 2018, but not 2019. And then last year it would have been gave in 2017, but not 2018. So at this time last year, there was about 9,700 who gave last year, but not yet this year. This year, there's 10,102. The same would apply in the 2-year historic donor comparison. So those were the figures we reported to you last year by comparison. As you can see, the 2-year not given yet is pretty close. Though the number of donors is pretty close for our 2-year historic donors. Any other questions? Those are good. That's a good question. And of course, after the meeting, if you're taking a look at this, if you're taking a look at your individual parish numbers and another question pops up, do not hesitate to let us know. I did see another comment come through. Please know the reports that I'm referring to, if you were not able to download them ahead of time, we will email them out to you. So we did have a couple people who registered after we sent these out. They contacted us this morning and let us know. So they're coming on board, which we're excited about, but they did not get these reports. If you did not get them, we will get them to you. All right. And again, if a question comes up later, we're recording the questions and we will get back with you afterwards. Thank you again for joining us, and I'm going to hand it back to Jeanne Smith.
Thank you very much, Meegan. Being aware of these numbers and the potential we have yet to make will help us move forward to reach our goals. Okay, everybody, are you ready for poll number 2? Here we go. Is your parish up in pledges? And have you downloaded the reports? Those of you who checked in late who didn't get the reports, don't answer that.
Looks like about half of the people have checked in, 12, 13. Don't forget to answer on the poll section and not in the chat. We're going to leave the poll open for just a couple more seconds. All right, let's close it down and see where we're at.
Okay. As it appears is what we know, I think after Meegan just finished with those numbers, is that there are a lot of us who are down. And but as Meegan mentioned, when we went to our regional meeting, and we always go there thinking that we're in a certain place, but we come back with a breath of fresh air because we are not anywhere near uh, in the place that our other dioceses within our region are. So we certainly have a potential that's capable of achieving. We just have to work together at it. So I'm hoping that the next bit of information will help us with that. So now let's take your annual pastoral appeal to the next level. Whether you are, hold on, I have to, the poll thing stays up on my screen, so I can't see you, sorry. Whether you have met your goal or not, or whether you use this information now or later, regularly reviewing your APA process and renewing its content will always generate better results. Okay, now it's time for our latest mail call. Just like in every meeting, there's a time that we have to go over our mail system and the data that we get from each parish. Direct mail is our primary resource of communication for the annual pastoral appeal. We mail to individual households based on data parishes provide us through the PariSoft Family Suite. Our mailings are sent through 2 check systems for address verification before they go in the mail. CAS, which is the United States Postal Service Coding Accuracy Support System, and the National Change of Address System. On the return mail handout we provided, you can see if your parish has had any return mail, and if so, why. And hopefully we can make some changes with the people in campaign processing. We understand as a participant in this webinar, you may not be the person that does the data management for your parish. Please pass this information along to whoever does. It really is paramount for your parish data to be updated and for those updates to be shared through the Family Suite option so that we can maximize who we mail to on your behalf. The next mailing we have scheduled is the LIBUNT, the last year, but unfortunately not this year mailing, and that's scheduled for September 9th. And then preparation should be being done for the number 1 mailing for 2020, and those updates need to be completed by December 1st, because as we are preparing for the holidays, Ray in our IT department is fiercely going through the data to make sure we can compile it correctly for the direct mail system and maximize our mailing. We have some big plans for the mailing for 2020. I'm not sharing those with you now, that you have to wait for December for that information. But making sure your parishioner address information is up to date is very important. Does anyone have any questions?
Jeannie, there was a private message that was sent to me from Randy. She said, we have had return mail due to the yellow print on the envelope. Not sure if that accounts for all of our return mail, 18 pieces.
That I'm not sure of, but it very well could be, Randy. So that everyone knows, and Meegan and I were not aware, and our mailhouse didn't bring it to our attention when we were creating the materials for the annual pastoral appeal. The address is in gold, and apparently when it went through the systems at the post office, some scanners did not pick that up. Now, I will tell you that that was strictly for the first mailing. So, Randy, I'm not sure on that report if it breaks it down by date. I can assure you that any of those that came back that were returned in gold were for the first mailing only, because there were some that came back here and we got on that right away to the mail house, and they put a barcode on the rest of the mailings so that it wouldn't have any issue for the next mailings that went out. So after the first mailing, we're good. Is there another one?
There's a question from Jeanne, and she's asking that the dates that you were just reviewing, such as the Libun date, et cetera, be written down. And just so you know, Jeanne, they actually are on a slide a little bit later, so we got you covered later in the presentation, okay?
Okay. So moving on, we want to be sure that everyone knows where the resources are to reach for the promotion of the annual pastoral appeal. There are many resources to use for your promotion: bulletin inserts, ministry snapshots, videos. Utilize the diocesan speakers. These snapshots and these written pieces, you can use them in their entirety, or you can take snippets from them and add them to your own parish ministry or parish goings on to, show that, to demonstrate that the ministries and the work of the diocesan ministries go hand in hand. Any of the resources can be updated at any time just by asking, or customized for your parish individually. I can also tell you that there are 2 snapshots coming out very soon, one from the Faith Formation Office and one from Life, Justice, and Advocacy. Those will be out in September. Now, here's another important resource. How many times have you gotten the question that says, where does the money go? Well, here it is. Have you used this resource in your bulletin or to let your parishioners know where the money goes? Or do you just let them assume where the money might be going? This is a transparent piece that's to show where the funds come from and where they're distributed to, so that it can be a positive reinforcement for what we do as a church. Does anybody have any questions on that financial allocation? Okay, let's move on. We must cultivate in order to bear fruit. If we keep doing the same things and don't get better results, we have to examine what we do and make it better. Good stewardship is about necessary actions to nurture the process, enrich the foundation, and advance the results.
There was a question that came in from Wendy. It says the big question we get from our finance council is how the assessment is calculated from year to year.
That is a good question. And that actually comes out of our accounting office. And they have a breakdown of it that we can download and get out to everybody. But basically what it comes down to is that every parish is reporting their revenues, that there are, for all intents and purposes, deductions, tax deductions that are applied based on the type of funds that the parish is supporting. There are certain revenues that are excluded, such as a diocesan approved capital campaign. Those would be excluded from revenue. And then the total revenues after all of those calculations are done are placed together with every other parish and mission's assessable income on a spreadsheet, and we look at the total amount that is going to be applied to the parishes, which is the total goal for APA, and it's spread out proportionately. That's a somewhat short answer for a long question, but not that I don't think that accountants are wonderful. I think the summary gets the point across that it's proportionate based on the self-reported assessable revenue incomes.
That particular question, Wendy, is asked a lot. And we do have that, as Meegan said, we do have that written piece that we can put out. In fact, when I send the messenger out on Monday, I'll make sure that it's attached to it, so that we can maybe team up that information with the financial allocation and perhaps where you are as your parish stands. And that really is good information for your parishioners to know where you stand in this financial obligation. Okay, so let's cultivate. I scoured my resources and came up with some opportunities that'll hopefully spark some inspiration. If not that, it'll certainly give you the heads up on where we stand in giving in the United States and in the Diocese of St. Petersburg. What I do know is an informed parishioner is a good giver. An informed and engaged parishioner is a joyful giver. That's the ones we want to be sure we have in our parishes. Having an awareness and understanding of these 5 dynamics in the church nationwide is helpful. Sharing them throughout our parishes makes our everyday ministry to those we serve much better. Okay, so let's go on to the national giving trends. So I cited 2 sources here, Giving USA and Charities Aid Foundation. There is also another one that Meegan shared with me, and it's Gail Perry's Fired Up Fundraising. So I took some highlights of all 3 sources, and I want to share them with you. It's important to know and understand these giving trends. This will help with expectations and can provide a better approach to asking when we know how our donors give. I used several sources to get the information. Like I said before, the Giving USA 2018 annual report and the Charities Aid Foundation March 2009 overview of giving in the USA, as well as Gail Perry's Fired Up Fundraising. So here's the big picture from what I took away. There was over $425 billion in charitable giving given in 2018. If you take into consideration inflation-adjusted dollars, which I thought was funny because in each one of the publications, they use that phrase, and it's the first time I had even heard that phrase. The total giving decreased by 7.4 billion from a record-setting 2017. So what is the change? Economy, tax cuts, jobs, competition in nonprofits. It's really nobody's guess because giving is kind of erratic right now. Giving grew in 2 areas, environmental and animal organizations. And I think I shared this with you before. Meegan is constantly brings me some impact reports or mailings that she gets from people that she donates to, whether it's USF or the SPCA or whatever. And inevitably there is a pet one in there. And not only does it specifically share where the money goes and how many baths they give and foods they do, but it joyfully tells of the money they receive. So I aspire for us to get to that point. Giving decreased in education and religion.
I will point out that it's not USF, it would be FSU.
Oh yeah,
Thank you very much.
My bad. That is a big mistake, sorry. Giving by individuals decreased from 70% overall giving in 2017 to 68% in 2018. This is the first year giving by individuals has fallen below 70% in overall giving since 1954. That's kind of big. So some key findings were, compared to 2017, more people in this year's survey report taking part in charitable activity during the last 12 months, 70% up from 62% in 2017. More than 6 in 10, which is 62%, Americans gave money in the last 12 months, either by donating to a charity, by giving to a church or religious organization, or by sponsoring someone. This is also significantly higher than the level in 2017 when we reported that 55% had done so. This report is from the Charities Aid Foundation. Those aged 55 years and over are the most likely to have done any charitable activities, especially in terms of donating or sponsoring someone, both in the last 4 weeks and in the last 12 months. Religious organizations remain the most popular cause to donate in America, and that's 38%. The median amount donated or sponsored in the last year is $100, remaining consistent with 2017. Giving using cash and also online using bank or credit card are the most popular methods of donation, and that is around 39%. More than a third, 35%, have volunteered in the last year, up from 31% in 2017. Religious organizations and churches are again the most popular cause, 36% in which to volunteer. The majority of Americans believe that charities have had a positive impact on their local communities, on the USA as a whole, and internationally. Having more money themselves is most likely to encourage Americans to donate more in the coming months, remaining unchanged from 2017. And with that being said, part of this, in the how people give, cash is still big on that arena, but so is online giving. And I think those people who promote their online giving, we especially, where we went on to a new system, are up in donors that way. And it's convenient, it's handy, and more it is in the control of the donor so that they can change it, delete it, up it, whatever they want to do. And that helps the donor manage their giving.
We actually, if anyone is interested, we're up by about 2,000 donors giving electronically this year over last year. That's pretty significant. And we also offered an opportunity for our donors to choose to become a sustainer, which means they sign up to do a certain amount per month on a cycle, and it just continues until they say stop. We do have about 200 donors who chose that option this year. So that's kind of exciting and moving forward. But an increase of 2,000 over last year, that's significant.
Okay, so it also in this report, it did mention that behind the cash and online giving, people, believe it or not, are still writing checks at 25% of charitable giving. And there is a 3% 3%, and I have to believe that this number is going to go up, is they are giving via text. So that is a whole text to give option. It's new, but it's taking off, as you see in commercials or things that events that you go to. Text to give is a big deal, and I think people are getting more acclimated to it and trust it a little bit more. And there's also the donor advised funds, and which is a low method of giving, but people are still giving it. And when we get into giving opportunities, we'll get into how we're doing as a diocese where that's concerned. Okay, and then why people give. I thought this was interesting. So I'm giving you the top 3. Now, this is compared to 2017 and 2018. The top cause was because people care about the cause. Well, in 2018, it was 53%, and in 2017, it was 58%. So that's down 5%, which I don't even know how that's possible, because if you don't care, why are you giving? So, there's a saying that we hear often that is that people will give where their priority is and where their heart lies, and if you don't care about it. So I don't that one puzzled me a little bit, but that's why I found it interesting. The next one is, I want to help people less fortunate than me. Thanks be to God, there are people out there that are still in that mindset. So in 2018, it's 42%, and in 2017, it was 41%, which means we are up in that trend. And last but not least, on the top 3 is that I trust the organization. All said and done, if you can't trust your church, who can you trust? Because that's where you turn to when it gets rough. So 2018 says we are at 42%, and 2017 is 39%. So that is on the rise at 3%. Okay, so there was another a couple of things I wanted to share with you from the Fired Up fundraising. There's some good news from this resource, and that is that monthly giving is on the rise. Pledges are always good, but monthly giving is on the rise, and we should consider this. The average gift in the mail that comes in the mail is $58. The average gift that goes online is $96. Donors giving monthly contribute between $276 and $432 per year. So I think that's something to hold on to. And while if we look at all these trends, and believe me, you can take these resources and look at them, because there is a lot more that I didn't highlight, but we should take these into consideration when we're making our plan on how we're going to ask our donors for their gift.
Right. In fact, so that everybody knows, we'll go ahead and we'll send everybody the sources and the stats that Jeanne has been pulling from, because it really is great information to have.
Okay, moving on. Does anybody have any questions about those giving trends? Okay, so let's move on to 5 habits of highly effective parishes. So looking at that picture there, which parish is yours? I'm just asking. So the resource that I looked at in this particular option was U.S. Catholic Faith in Real Life. And they had 5 habits of highly effective parishes. So in that option, and I do have these 2 cross references that I did available. Michelle can make them available for download. But I just want to share, there are 5 habits that this resource took from the Reboot Parish Nativity in Maryland. And these 5 habits, what I did was I cross-referenced them and made them 5 habits of the Annual Pastoral Appeal. So I'm going to give you one, and then I'm going to give you my option for the Annual Pastoral Appeal. So number 1 is making a good first impression. We've all heard that when we did the Catholics Come Home, and everybody knew that, you know, your welcoming is important in your parish. We learned that, you know, new parishioners want to know where the bathroom is when they come to your parish. Is your bathroom, you know, is your restroom new parishioner worthy? I found it interesting that they talked about walking through your parish campus with the imagination of a new parishioner. You know, what are some of those things? What if you walked through your parish campus with that imagination? Where are your restrooms? Do you have a sign that says where they are? Are some of the doors opened and some of them closed? Are they labeled? You know, where are the religious education rooms? How about youth ministry? And in the parking lot, do they know which parking is for them? And how about ministry offices? And how's your Sunday liturgy? A welcoming parish is ever changing to serve the visitor in hopes to make them stay. So what does that refer to when we talk about the Annual Pastoral Appeal? Well, my thought is that there's more parishioners that sit in the pew that don't know what APA is, even though we are relentless saying it from the pulpit. So we have to sort of figure out ways to make it known to them. So what do your parishioners think or know about the Annual Pastoral Appeal? And if they're a new parishioner, or for that matter, a lifelong parishioner, do they really know what the Annual Pastoral Appeal is and how it affects your parish? Make your Annual Pastoral Appeal plan through the eyes of a new parishioner. Bring a sense of understanding to everyone so that they feel included. Don't make it just an ask for money. Give them an understanding of how their church works and what the needs are. That is a real good first impression. Okay, measuring matrix. Meegan just spent a good bit of time on the matrix we have for the Annual Pastoral Appeal and giving history for the Diocese of St. Petersburg in the Annual Appeal. So measuring things is important. When is the last time you measured your parish's spiritual health? If and when did you make changes, and how did you know if those changes are working or not? Gallup poll places parishioners in one of 3 categories. Engaged, 16%, which is organizing their life around the church. Not engaged, 49%. Usual attendance, but often more social than spiritual. And then actively disengaged, 35%. Attending Mass only a couple times a year and often unhappy with the church, parish, or both. Knowing how connected your parishioners are or aren't is vital to helping you meet them where they are. Having your finger on the pulse of your community changes the mentality of what am I getting and what do I give? How does what we learned today and what does matrix matter to our parish annual appeal and our diocesan appeal? We hear a lot about giving. Do you know how your own parishioners give? Do you know why they give or how much they give? When you try new things, do you evaluate if those things worked or not? Regular reviewing your parish giving history is essential to future giving history. How your parishioners give and giving them fresh opportunities to give is vital to how much and when you get any gifts. Taking the time to assess these kinds of measurements and statistics will improve your overall results. Okay, faith formation is a family affair. This worked in Nativity, and I tell you, it's a drastic change. They lost families, but then they had a rise in new families, and then the old families that went away came back. They changed the dynamic of their children's faith formation from a drop your kids off and go to an intergenerational catechesis for the whole family. It's a drastic change, but it inspires engagement from the whole family, better domestic church evangelization and teaching, and leads to more involvement and participation from the whole family. There are lots of things that happen in church that the whole family can participate in, and sometimes you have to take a risk, and you have to stay with the risk, and you may fail at first, but you have to do it long enough to decide whether and decide how long that is, to see if it's a bust or to keep moving on. So my annual pastoral appeal take on faith formation as a family affair is that offering some type of faith formation for the family as one unit is a gift. Learning the faith together is priceless. Have you ever seen the hunger for Jesus from a family going through RCIA together? It is the best renewal for a lifetime Catholic ever. To enhance any ministry, we must ask ourselves, do our ministry leaders themselves know how our parish works, or know how the parish links to the diocesan community, to the church universal? Do they know what we do as church for those around us in need? Basically, do they courageously live the gospel through the annual pastoral appeal, and do they share that? These are things that we take for granted and think that people must just know. There is a higher percentage of those who don't know than those who do. If your leaders know, they can teach better, inform better, and from this, better stewardship overall is established. Okay, this is a weird term, but this is faith in real life. Plucking people from the pews is their number 4 highly effective habit. So if you need a task done, they say that you must have the 20-80 split here, the volunteer ratio. 20 people are doing the work of the entire parish, and 80% is appreciating it or not. Have we asked anyone lately to help? And if we've asked, did we really mean it? Did we take them in? Did we teach them? Did we train them? Did we share with them the importance of what they're doing? And most of all, did we thank them? The volunteers filled with time, talent, and treasure are in the pews. We simply need to invite them to personally help. We have to cultivate, move the 20% out and move into the 80%. It is not always comfortable, but it is the right thing to do. So what does that mean for the annual pastoral appeal? If we approach the annual pastoral appeal as a task, that it has to be done, those that are faithful will participate, and that's probably it. But if you inquire with the people in the pews who you wouldn't normally engage with, you'll find a whole different perspective and a cause for a plan and better strategy to teach about all aspects of giving. This isn't just for the annual pastoral appeal. It's about your need for an offertory increase. It's a need for the building fund. It's a need for whatever's going on. Most people don't give because they don't understand, or what they understand probably isn't exactly right. So the term plucking them from the pews is a little, I don't know, but picking them up or tapping them on the shoulder or just engaging them may just produce fruit. Okay, number 5, communicate the right message. In a parish, in a successful parish, they note that we're in an era of social media where communications means a lot more than personal interaction. People are on their computers and phones accessing Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, YouTube. Can they reach your parish website through any of these? Or is any of your parish outreach done through these sources? A whole different meaning to meeting them where they are. That is the faith in real life best practices. Now, number 5 for the annual pastoral appeal. If we go back to the beginning of this presentation where we asked the question, what is the annual pastoral appeal? We define the difference between the assessment and the annual appeal. It is extremely important to communicate the right message here. A constant, positive resource of information demonstrating the good works of your parish and the diocesan community and how they link together, distributed in all areas of communications, is how the good news starts to build and form something that everyone wants to be a part of. So I hope that helped you. Those are my 5 habits of highly effective parishes apostille. Okay, let's move on. Understanding the opportunities to give. On page 14 of the Annual Pastoral Appeal Leadership Manual, there is a detailed description of all the opportunities to give that we offer within our diocese. So, from a pledge to a one-time gift, or from a gift from an IRA distribution, or just a plain cash, any gift is welcomed, whether it's for the annual appeal, offertory, or some other need. It's important for everyone to know what their options are and how to use them so that it's convenient for them to give. I will tell you that I told you before that I would go back and give you the information on our IRA and stock distributions. In 2018, we had 76 IRA distribution gifts. And this is from 2018. This is this year, 2018, 2019. And in 2019, we had 65, which is a total of 141. Our stock donations for this year are, in 2018, there was 21. And in 2019, there was 11. That's a total of 32. And family foundations, there was, in this year, there was a total of 15. One that was split within other ministries, and 14 in 2019, which is a total of 15. So it is a small percentage, but it's a percentage that's growing. And as the tax laws change, those opportunities to give are really some that, if you're 70 or older, the best way to give in a larger amount. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, let's move on. So let's go into effective best practices. What is your best practice? I would like to take this opportunity to call out Kathy Jaffray from Our Lady of Lourdes. She is filled with excellent creativity and courageously lives the gospel through the Annual Pastoral Appeal and her bulletin. So these bulletin articles that you see on the screen are parallel the parish and the diocesan ministries, programs, and services, and update the parishioners on the goal and total received. This is wins the blue ribbon this year for creativity on how we spread the good news within our parish. Highly effective parishes use planning, stewardship, hospitality, communication, and faith formation as foundations for learning about the workings of the church and parish expectations. Establishing the best practice of being knowledgeable and sharing that knowledge through ministry and service will bear fruit. The Charities Aid Foundation states that we need to practice the basics for success. Review your statistics, know the facts, know your donors, have a plan, make your own gift first, and stay positive, and don't ever forget to say thank you. Fundraising specialists state the top 3 successful best practices are getting to know your donors, articulating the impact their gift has on what we do, and segmenting donors and marketing them accordingly. Meegan and I are venturing out into that this year, and hopefully it will pay off for those donors who have never given a gift. That's our target, and we want to give you this information so that you can consider who these people are, getting to know your donors, and getting a resource back to them that shows what their impact and their giving does for the parish. Okay, let's move on. Courageously living the gospel through the Annual Pastoral Appeal. Our diocese has spent the last year growing, sharing, and working toward a new vision, and we are courageously living gospel through everything that we do. Every ministry, program, and service funded by the Annual Appeal is a growing part of that same vision. It's time we capture the impact we are having and share it with those we serve. This is how we courageously live the gospel. And remember, an informed parishioner is a good giver. An informed and engaged parishioner is a joyful giver. Okay, what's in our future? Here are some important dates to remember. Our Libant mailing, which is last year, but unfortunately not this year, is approaching soon. This year, we'll be taking a new approach to the Libant letter. We'll be asking 2 of the top APA donors, one from either Pinellas or Hillsborough County, and then the other from Pasco, Hernando, or Citrus County. And we're going to ask these donors to give a witness to why they give to APA and challenge those who have not yet given to give. And that will be done in a letter format, and that's what the Libant letter will be this year. It's important to try different things and to see if a person-to-person approach will maximize that $2 to $2.5 million potential that Meegan talked about earlier, to see if we can get those people who are on the edge of giving to give. In one of the attachments in your email that we sent yesterday was an International Catholic Stewardship Conference brochure. Please look it over and take advantage of this great opportunity. The brochure has the track sessions that are set out. They have a wonderful faculty of keynote speakers, and they are up on the latest topics that we are dealing with in our parishes. So it's a great opportunity if you can go. Our All Souls mailing will go out on October 1st, and this mailing goes out to all donors who give an amount of $365 or more, and includes a thank you from Bishop Parks, as well as a prayer intention card. And when I have to tell you, in all the time that we've been doing this mailing, it's the largest response that we get, and it's a fast response. And we save those prayer intention cards, and we make a point to pray for them at Mass when we have Mass daily here at the Pastoral Center. Okay, next is Giving Tuesday. That is on December 3rd. For those of you who have taken advantage of Giving Tuesday in the past, I hope it's been successful. I know that there is hundreds, if not more than hundreds, of nonprofit organizations that use that day to promote their giving. Now, excuse me, Giving Tuesday is not really our day, right? But what if you prepared them on Sunday for Giving Tuesday by a reminder, or several weeks of reminding them and asking them that using their funds that they would use on Giving Tuesday to donate them to the parish on behalf of, whether it's something that you want individually and you can give them something tangible that you wanna fundraise for, or if you want that money to go to the annual appeal. I just think it's a great day nationally to take advantage of. It is the day after Cyber Monday, so keep that in mind. And last but not least for this year, the 2020 Annual Pastoral Appeal Preview Meeting will be on December 3rd at the Bethany Center. Josh, hey, we have on a question from Josh Dowling and Beverly Burgess from St. Joseph's in Zephyr Hills, and they are asking about Amazon Smile and how does it work. Well, we use it in our parish, in our school, St. Paul's School. But I can tell you that you can inquire with Amazon, and what it is, it's just like when you make a partnership with like Chick-fil-A or somewhere where a portion of the sales for that day or night or time, and I can just go by my own experience. St. Paul's and St. Petersburg school has an Amazon Smile account, and when I log into Amazon, it asks me, do I want to go to Amazon Smile? Whatever I purchase, a portion of that, the proceeds go to St. Paul's School. So that is also a possibility for you to get linked up in, and definitely worth inquiring with Amazon. So I don't know the details, Josh, but I know that Amazon does, so maybe you can just contact them.
We did have Father George just jumped in, if everybody is following their chat. Amazon Smile app version, there's some drawbacks there. So you have to let people know that they have to put it in the cart. But you know, there's some ins and outs. We do get some gifts from Amazon Smile. I know Catholic Charities also gets gifts from Amazon Smile. They're relatively small donations because if it's only one person doing it, unless it's a group effort. But it can work nicely for specific efforts. We also had a question that came through from Paul. He was actually referring back to the numbers that were using IRA giving that Jeannie had quoted, and that while they're up, really at this point, with the change in the tax law and the transfer of the age groups, we've got the biggest group of people coming in who are reaching the age where giving from their IRA just makes sense. And he feels like those numbers should be higher. And we may be doing a poor job in getting that message out. And so we don't disagree with that. I know that we have a bulletin insert that can be used, but we also have talked about how do we make it more visual in the mailing itself. Unfortunately, what we don't have access to is age through our giving system. So we can't personalize that information for our people, but you guys can. If you guys were talking about it and targeting it from a parish perspective, you keep track of birthdays. We don't have that, but we welcome any ideas. You know, if you've got something, we'd love to do it. And I did just see pop up Claire from Sacred Heart. They actually do, it looks like they do Amazon Smile, and they've generated a few $100s. It's a nice bonus, easy to use, she says. So got some positive feedback from Sacred Heart Dade City, Sacred Heart in Tampa. They seem to have used Amazon Smile. So if you guys have questions, Josh, Beverly, connect with those two parishes, good resources.
Or St. Paul School. I do know that they get a lot of school parents. Or St. Paul School. I do know that they get a lot of school parents that participate in that SMILE program. And Father George, I do agree with you. I do know that when I'm on my laptop and ordering through, it automatically asks me to go to SMILE, but when I'm on my phone, it does not, and I have to remember. So there is that little glitch, but
Hey, before we move on, just a quick, so that everybody can see it. If everybody's got their participant pane open, why don't you go ahead and go ahead and use the yes toggle on the underneath the participant if you use Amazon Smile. Go ahead and click yes so that everyone can kind of see. So I've got Claire from Sacred Heart just chimed in, Father George. Who else is using Amazon Smile? Because that'll give Josh a good idea of who else he can. Looks like Pat Shaneyfelt, Jim Grevenitis. Anyone else? Looks like we've got some room to grow there, but that gives you a good indicator, Josh, of who you can reach out to. Jim's at St. Raphael, and Pat, I know Pat was at USF. I'm not sure. I think you're over at Corpus Christi now. Is that, Pat, give me a thumbs up if that's correct. Are you able to do a thumbs up? That way I change you over. Yep. So Pat is over at Corpus Christi. All right. Thanks, everybody. And Jeannie, back to you.
Okay, so again, I just want to draw your attention to that last date, December 3rd. The 2020 APA preview meeting is going to be at the Bethany Center. Obviously, more information will come out with that, but just save the date now so I can see you in person. Okay.
Tim Bergevin asked, can you ensure Spiritu Santo is removed from the September 9th Libent letter? We normally send out our own.
Sure. Okay, so at this point, we are reaching the end of our informational resources that we had prepared for you, and we have the third of 3 polls that we want to give you. So here we go. Did you find this information helpful today? And should we do the webinar format again next year for the mid-year meeting? Oh, look at you guys. You know, I was terrified when I came in here this morning.
All right, 17. All right, we got a few more. Come on, just a few more. We're almost at 100%. Who hasn't voted yet? We need you. 19, 2 left. Come on, we're at 90%. That is just at the level of an A.
Well, that's how Meegan grades. You know, you guys, I'm on the learning curve, so I'm good. But everybody needs to participate. We strive for 100% participation.
There's 20.
Okay.
All right, we do have one person who can't, so this is technically 100%. We'll close it out.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay, here's the results. So, according to this, I'm glad you liked the information that we gave, and I'm glad this event was successful. We will be better at it next time, I'm sure, and reach more people. So I appreciate the reinforcement. Thank you.
If you were the person who said no on either of those, I'd love to find out what we could do,
Right.
to make it better. If you want to send us a chat privately or just let us know what we can do, that would be extremely helpful for us, because the poll is anonymous, but we'd love your feedback. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
And at the conclusion of this, and I'm thinking maybe tomorrow, but I'm not sure, we are going to send a survey out to all the participants so that we can ask some detailed questions and make sure that what we're doing we improve for next year. So if I could get everyone, if anybody doesn't have any more questions. Okay, then let's do what we do best and pray. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Lord of day and night, of beginnings and endings, as we prepare to conclude this meeting, we once again lift up our hearts to you, the divine source of all life. We thank you for the gifts that we have been present within this act of service to you. Oh God, we are grateful for the gifts of fellowship and understanding, of mutual respect and shared vision, of perseverance and insight into the common concerns we share. For these and all other graces, we are thankful. As you have blessed our coming together, now bless our departure and journeys onward. May your blessing be upon us. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Once again, on behalf of Meegan and Michelle, thank you very much for joining us, and have a great afternoon. Thank you. Bye.